Welcome to Hey, great shot. This is the Great Shot Podcast, a Cracked Racquets and Tennis Channel Podcast Network production. My name is Alex Gruskin. On today's show, we've got a live reaction edition of The Deciding Point, where we will attempt to break down what has been an already wild weekend of conference tournament play. By the way, folks, we haven't even hit Championship Sunday, but on a day that on the men's side saw number one Wake Forest drop their first match of the season to Virginia, on a day that saw number two TCU drop another match to just the Cinderella team of this 2025 season in the UCF Knights. I don't know why I said another match. It's their first loss to UCF. You get what I'm saying. It's another miracle performance for the Knights. I mean, again, those are the headlines, but look across the country. It'll be a fifth consecutive showdown between Georgia, Texas A&M on the women's side in the SEC. Of course, how about the Virginia women? Their first, dare I say, significant victory since February as they knock off previously unbeaten in ACC play Duke. By the way, it was a massive undercard. We're not going to spend much time covering it. Thought Michigan State was pretty fun today as well. By the way, how about Nebraska? How about Oregon knocking off Illinois? Where do you want me to go? I can go in any direction you want. I hope all of you are watching live. If you are, get in the chat. Tell us what you want us to cover. Joining me to offer right-off-the-cuff reactions, the man who is helping me call the action this week in the Big 12, the man who all of you are calling to try and figure out your NCAA tournament placement. Oh, yeah, He's a man you also all know best as the forefather of the college tennis ranks formula predictions, never far from the listed UTR. Of course, you all know him best as a lean, mean Michigan Wolverine, the professor. And I'll say this, I'm not sure I've ever seen him look more handsome on this show than he does tonight with the backwards hat. Chris Halioris. Hey, great shot, my friend. How are you feeling?
I'm exhausted. I legitimately, you know this because I texted you. That was a long day yesterday of Big 12 championship, a 4-match day for us. We started at 9 or 10 in the morning. We finished up close to midnight. I made another latte at like 8 p.m. And the next thing I know, I'm still scrolling reels at 3:30 in the morning in bed. Like I couldn't stop. Like I don't even know what it was. It's just I'm awake and you get into that mode where you're just, you hit something on Twitter and the next thing you know, you're scrolling reels for 3 hours. And I was exhausted. Got up for it again today. And I mean, it's been amazing. Obviously, all the Big Ten play that you and I have been calling. I am getting the double duty
12.
while I'm calling those matches of trying to make sure I'm keeping things as updated as quickly as possible, especially when we have monster results like you mentioned, Wake Forest losing, like TCU losing, just things like that. People want to see those and what they do to what is the impact on the rankings immediately. I'm trying to get those in so everybody sees that. And it's exhausting, but it's really, really fun. Best time of the year.
We were talking about it before the show started. Right now on the travel matrix, the Baylor men are forced by NCAA rule to be headed to Texas for the opening weekend, rounds 1 and 2 of the tournament on the men's side. That would be a joke. Like, I mean, again, if that is a second round match between what now projected 4 and 18, like I could do an hour on just that subplot, but we don't know how long we're going to go here. I told Chris we're just going to talk about all the things we find interesting, and then I guess we'll stop when we stop. I'll try to keep it around an hour mark so we can save some stuff for us next week when we play cleanup on Championship Sunday. But, Chris, I'm going to offer you the menu of options. Pick your tournament. We'll start men's and women's side as we cover all of the action. Again, Chris, I'm going to ask you to dive into that professorship here deeply today. Dive into your tenure, and pull out some women's college tennis analysis, as, of course, you have been calling so much of the action here this year. Pick your conference tournament. SEC, where, again, it will be Texas A&M, Georgia, probably the two we expected, although, boy, was the pathway to get there fun. On the women's side, of course, you also have South Carolina, the hosts here this week, who you, Chris Halioris, wisely selected to reach that SEC tournament final. They will take on the expected finalists in Texas. We could start there. We could go to the ACC. As I mentioned earlier, Wake Forest undefeated on the men's side. They dropped their first match of the season, 4-3. They fall to a Virginia team. How many times do we have to see it? Gets hot again here to end the season. They pick up the signature victory we knew they were capable of. Of course, tomorrow they're going to have a look at another one as they take on a Stanford team who knocked off a Duke team who, of course, last night earned a magnificent victory over NC State. We can talk about that. By the way, on the women's side, North Carolina, a good win over NC State today. They will take on Virginia for the third time here this season. And if you saw the previous two between those two sides, I mean, it's 6-team match points fought off by the Hoos when they beat UNC at the National Indoors. Oh, by the way, Virginia, who has looked more like a top 16 than a top 8 team for the last 2 months, I mean, they just beat undefeated in ACC play Duke. So, like, we could start there, or we could come to the Big 12, Chris Halioris, where our women's semifinals were just, I'm going to swear, it's going to happen a lot tonight. I'll try to preface it whenever it happens. It was a fucking joke. I mean, so good. What Baylor did through those first 45 minutes of singles to Texas Tech, that's national championship winning tennis. And then the Red Raiders respond, and they end up winning the match 4-2, of course. That was so clearly the undercard because if you saw the 4 match points fought off by Olivia Lincer, if you watched UCF inch their way back in the most dramatic fashion possible to the 4-3 win over Oklahoma State, Obviously, by the way, TCU loses on the men's side. Arizona Baylor was 1-love for 2.5 hours. That's everything. Those are your final matchups. That's, again, the too long didn't read version of what we saw here today, Chris Halioris. You pick the conference tournament. You pick where you want to start.
So I think, look, there have been good matches and good results to talk about in all of them. I've loved everything we've had at the Big 12, and today was amazing. But everything up to today on both sides of the Big 12 was complete chalk. Like, we had the top 4 seeds on the men's side. We had the top 4 seeds on the women's side. On the women's side, there wasn't the only match where a lower seeded team even won was the 11-14 first day. Even the 8-9s went to the 8. I mean, it was complete chalk until today. That was amazing.
But shout out Colorado. Good shout by you. I love that.
The SEC tournament, dramatic, but kind of where we expected to be with, you would have thrown a toss-up on that South Carolina-Mississippi State match at home for South Carolina, but you still figured one of them against Texas. That's where we're at. You figured maybe Auburn has a shot over A&M because they're at home, but probably A&M and Georgia, and that's where we're at. So I think the conference that you got to talk about first is the ACC, because that's where the matches started happening early. We didn't wait till semifinal Saturday to start going, hey, we've got upsets, we've got big results. We started right out of the gate in the ACC, and there were, I mean, that's the conference I think that really, the apple cart started turning upside down right away. I mean, let's call it Duke knocking off NC State, right? I mean, yeah, that was the thing that started this roller coaster that's continued today of the hosting battle for the men in the top 16, and all of those teams being, the A&Ms, the Baylors, the Harvards, the UCFs, anybody that's in that ballpark, they're all watching all these results. And when Duke won, there was a collective, oh shit, like, man, they just jumped all of us and they're hosting. Like, we're screwed. That basically told overnight, Baylor basically learned we have to beat Arizona tomorrow if we want to host. And that was before UCF came along and knocked off TCU and took another spot. But it was, the ACC, I think that's where we got to start.
Then start with the ACC we shall, and we can start on the men's side because you kind of alluded to that Duke upset. It started before that. Yeah. Louisville beating Georgia Tech was just like, okay, we're doing this.
Notre Dame beats Miami.
And we knew Notre Dame would be due. Like, God, did they come close during the regular season. It was just, it's been on in Cary. And by the way, a thank you to Jeff McMillan, who's documented a lot of fun stuff on Twitter for us here this week, showing that crowd last night, everyone migrating courts at Duke for that Duke finish. Like, was very, very cool. And it just goes to show, again, being in person at these college tennis events, there is nothing better than a college tennis match, 3-all overall, with the crowd firing. And just, we had opportunities for that everywhere. And by the way, coming into the week, on the ACC side, I said Duke was my team I was watching most closely because somehow a team with all of this talent had fallen outside of the top 16. And now you look at it, Chris Halioris, again, they go from 19 in the projected rankings to now they are currently sitting, according to your website, and shout out to you, by the way, for updating everything so quickly, they're back up to 16. They've leapfrog A&M. They've leapfrog Baylor. By the way, Florida State, who was up 3-2 last night on Stanford, almost leapfrogged everyone as well. Every coach here in Waco had the phone out, monitoring every result. Like, how can you not? It gets back to the theme of, boy, is there a lot of parity. Like, boy, is it just going to be 4-3 matches to decide so much in postseason play. But, again, pick a team you want to start with. Duke, Virginia, Wake Forest, how they react. The fact that NC State went from 4 to 8 in the projected rankings, which is just like, what? Like, that's how, what are we doing?
I texted our group, like, if you had told any of us that are in a big group chat on, say, Wednesday or Thursday, that we were going to be sitting here right now on Saturday talking about how Virginia's number 3 and NC State is number 8, There's not a single one of us, even you and Jay, the Virginia homers, that would have believed that storyline. It's just not, no, nobody would have seen that coming.
Well, we have to then start with Virginia because this was a team from the moment Rafa Hodar confirmed, no, I'm going to Virginia this year. Which, by the way, still probably we could lead every show with the fact that we convinced a guy who won the Junior U.S. Open title last fall, a guy who competed at the ITF Junior World Tour Finals event last November, that he was willing to come to college. It speaks to the strength of this game. It speaks to the opportunities offered by the accelerator program and the opportunity to capitalize on that, although he would have had plenty of junior exemptions already. But it wasn't just Hodar. Blue chips in Keegan Rice, in Brockett, in Horowitz, in Jungjoon Kim. Like, we knew what this Virginia team might be capable of. And yet, whether it be because of the injury to Horowitz and him working his way back, whether it be the fact that it just felt like none of Brockett, Rice, Horowitz, Jungjoon, you could never get two of those four guys to click at the same time. It was always one here, one there. And there were flashes, of course, from all of them all season long. I mean, and then, of course, there's the James Hopper of it all. Like, has anyone eaten more innings successfully in a way you just did not anticipate? Double specialist, I would have believed. Like, this version of James Hopper to earn this sort of victory, I was talking about it with a buddy of mine, as you would describe it, a fellow Virginia homer. But I still roll in those circles. And he listening, it wasn't Jay, but he knows who he is. I think some of you listening can probably guess who I was talking to as well. Don't say the name, Chris, because I'm sure you know exactly. Just like, I mean, again, I don't even know where to go. I don't know where to start with this Virginia team other than to say when they lost to Cal, I was really concerned. I just thought, okay, maybe it's a year too soon. Maybe this isn't going to happen. But as my buddy mentioned, you look at what this Virginia team has done this weekend. Chris, they earned a top 10 victory in the conference championship quarterfinals. Like, they played a top 10 match overall against Cal in the quarters. By the way, they win that match 4-2. They played SMU tightly 4-2 in that opening match as well to get this 4-3 win over Wake Forest, in particular to do it after dropping the doubles point, after Robertson so definitive at that number 4 spot, and yet Hodar and Rice taking those simultaneous tie breaks and Hodar just continuing to assert players might be as good, but no one is better than me in college tennis right now. For Rice to find it. For Jungjoon, what a massive win for JJ. Ultimately gets a straight set victory over Luca Pau that none of us had on our bingo card. Again, they were also down 4-2 in the third, while up 3-2 overall in the two remaining matches. And they grabbed them both. And I don't know if anyone needed a win like this more than Monzi. He grabs it, Mons Dahlberg, that clinch at the number 6 spot. Are you sipping the Kool-Aid again, Chris Halioris? It looks like you're sipping La Croix, but are LaCroix?
La Croix, that's right. No, I would say this, and we say a lot of things in exaggerated fashion, and it's never meant as any personal attack on anybody, right? Okay. I mean, we say things pretty flippantly, but
no, we only attack each other.
Yeah, I look at this Virginia team and I go, now this Virginia team is now in the live rankings. They're number 3. And to me, I look at them very similar, except I'll call the other team the poor man's Virginia. And the team I'm going to compare them to as the poor man's Virginia is Tennessee. It's two teams that I have a lot of faith in the top 2 guys. And I really have no idea what to expect after those top 2. It's just that everything's a little level higher at Virginia than it is at Tennessee. And they've both continued to surprise me on both fronts. I keep crapping on both of these teams. And there's not a chance in the world that I'm giving Virginia any chance at all of winning a national championship. And they just beat undefeated Wake Forest. Like that. I mean, that's where I'm at with this team is I don't know how. And I've said it all along every time we talk about it. It's Coach Pedroso is going to find the way to get the most out of what he's got, whether he's got the best team in the world and they just win, or whether he's got a team that isn't the best on paper and he gets them to win anyway, despite that. He is a master at working his job in that manner. But I think it's just remarkable what they've done because I don't see them in that same conversation. On the flip side right now, look, Texas still playing shorthanded. TCU still playing shorthanded. They just beat
TCU's not playing
Wake.
shorthanded, Chris. They're playing one-handed.
Yeah, yeah. And then they just beat Wake. So, so while I say there's not a chance in hell I'm giving them a shot at it, why not? They just beat the only team that's playing a full complement of players.
I like that I think you just talked yourself both in and out of Virginia in the same sentence.
I mean, the bigger question is, Chris, how could you not pick them to win it all right now? They just beat number 1 and number 2 and 3 are playing with one hand.
It's remarkable, and it speaks to the parity. And by the way, we talked about it. Yeah, there was some separation between Group 1 and Group 2, those top 3 teams and the teams we've had packed 4 through 10 the entire season long. But the separation was never that big. And obviously, this is why we had this conversation last week of, yes, Wake Forest is 33-0, now 34-1 coming out of this conference play. Or maybe is it 34-1 or still 33-1? Did they have to play a quarterfinal match, or did they just advance straight? I don't remember if it's a double bye.
They were straight to. Oh no, they played Clemson.
Okay, they played Clemson, so 34-1 now, which by the way is still ridiculous. But if you watched the TCU match, if you watched the Texas match, if you watched the Ohio State match, again, there were moments where they were always vulnerable. Obviously, it's hard to judge too much of their regular season because so much of it was without Dostanic, but they were with Dostanic today, and they won the doubles point. And just the concept of finding 4 singles victories against this Wake Forest team. I think you and I would have a short list of maybe 2 programs, like maybe 2, who you think top to bottom even have enough talent on the roster to pull off something like that. And Virginia's probably one of those 2 teams. And for them to get this victory, for me, the key thing is, am I ready to put them in that upper tier, which we had them in to start the season, right, Chris? We were always because, and by the way, you always say Coach Pedroso. Trent Huey's my guy. Brian Rasmussen's my guy. I got to give them some love as well. They do an exceptional job, no doubt about it, even if Trent's not the player he once was. No, that's a joke. Hopefully he hears that. I think he's been coaching on a torn ACL this year, which is just maybe the most impressive thing we have in college tennis right now. But for me, here's the big thing. If they go out and beat Stanford tomorrow, you have to have them in Tier 1. And here's why, Chris. Because ultimately, what do you have to do to win a national championship? You got to beat 3 top 10 teams in one weekend. And the list of teams we have seen do that this season is Wake Forest and List. Virginia would become the second team on that list if they earn that victory tomorrow over Stanford. And if you beat, who did they play? I'm blanking now in the quarterfinals. To beat Cal, Wake Forest, and Stanford 3 matches consecutively, that's what national championship winning teams are capable of doing. And so, again, they're already huge winners. They were top 8 bubble to, no, you're in the top 8. You don't have to worry about that. Everyone else can fight out those spots now. But yeah, it's really hard not to put them in that conversation because all that talent's acclimated, because because their coaching staff has earned that degree of deference. Oh, and by the way, what do we always talk about? You know what's really nice, Chris? When you walk out on court and say, we have the best player in the country. And that's what they feel about Rafa Hodar. They feel they are up 1-0 against anyone. Virginia. This is the weekend you've been waiting for. Massive match for them tomorrow as they try to consolidate. No, we are inner circle national championship contenders. On the flip side, how about Stanford? Can we just take a moment to acknowledge the Florida State match? They were on the brink. The Duke match last night. The Duke match today, they went down a doubles point, and I think it was 2. Either way, they went down the doubles point, though. They're 1-love. We said this last week. I'm going to say it again. All due respect to every Stanford team since the Fawcett-Kumar, Janendra teams we've been covering in our time. Not a single one of those teams win these 2 matches the way this year's Stanford team did. They're just tougher. They have a little extra than they had years prior, even if on paper it looks very similar. And now the results are starting to show. And now they're playing for a conference tournament title tomorrow against a Virginia team who, had they had Samir Banerjee, very well could have beaten them when they played in Charlottesville about a month ago. Stanford, man. When was the last time we got to have on April 19th, Chris, a positive Stanford conversation.
I'll give you two fun facts here coming out of the ACC action as they relate to our NCAA projections. As of this minute, if we were drawing the NCAA field today, Stanford and Virginia end up 3-6, which means if they make the final sight, they play each other first round again. We get the ACC rematch. But more importantly, we called locks and non-locks for like top 8 hosts on the show last week. We called NC State an absolute lock. If we drew the field today, they finished ranked 8th and they lose a tiebreak to Columbia and don't get a top 8 seed. If we did the field right now, Columbia jumps them for the 8th and final double host spot, and NC State ends up 9, having to go to Columbia for that second weekend.
And is that locked in to happen, or is there a way NC State can get out of it?
That's not locked in. It's still really close, and they're still. I mean, that's only because it's those two teams back to back. So if somehow those things change, Columbia really, they're probably going to be there with them. San Diego obviously still got a conference tournament and a match to. I think they still got a match to play with Pepper. The match they just played with them wasn't the conference tournament, was it? I don't think so.
No, that was just regular season finale.
That was the regular season match.
Yeah.
So they've got another one to play, right?
Gotcha.
So something could happen there with San Diego. I mean, and then there are just things that can shift around.
Columbia, Harvard.
We got to roll over, and then there's another double run too. So it's definitely not locked. But if we just the fact that if we drew the field today, and that's where we are, the fact that NC State just went from like sitting at 4 or 4 or 5 to you're now the 9 seed in the NCAA tournament. Brutal turn of events for them.
That's just, I cannot believe that. That is simply.
And that's simply, like I said, they would finish 8th, but that's on the tiebreakers. And
that's nuts. A team that has been sitting top 5 and was undefeated in ACC regular season play until the very final weekend when they lost a really tight match to Wake Forest, and now this is why we got to have you, Professor. That's the stuff I need to know. And by the way, like, given sometimes it's a shell, we should just put Notre Dame and Michigan together and make it a super team and just be like, you guys get one NCAA tournament spot. Because Notre Dame's not going to be there, but God, could they beat a lot of teams in the draw. Like, if they had just gotten one of those wins over NC State, Wake, Virginia, where they were so close. That's it. Again, just a random ACC assortment there. Really tough end of the season for Georgia Tech. Like, God, that team had some talent too as well, and just unfortunately just hit a rough patch at the worst moment. Last ACC men's thing, and then we'll go to the women's side. We got to talk just 2 seconds about Duke. Just 2 seconds about Duke. Because I think if there was an NBA media ecosystem in college tennis, there's not. There's me, you, and Jay. But if there was an NBA media ecosystem, the amount of eulogies that would have already been written on this 2025 Duke season with the preface of all the talent, all the rumors in the offseason, and they self-combusted. And it's just like 2 fucking middle fingers to Parsabums. That's all I have to say. And it's on behalf of me from the Duke team to whomever runs those accounts. Like, fuck you guys. You couldn't take them down. I'm so happy in my... You know how spiteful I can be, Chris. Maybe petty is the right word. Like, just from a petty perspective. And I do feel bad for Baylor. The A&M falling out of the top 16 is probably its own subplot we can examine more next week. But, like, it's hard not to feel good for this Duke team, given all the noise that was surrounding them through no fault of their own. Like, to get that victory, you saw it in Remy Dugardin. He hit the night, right? Like, just, that's a cool moment. It's a really cool moment. I still don't think this Duke, like, they played Jake Krug today. Is that what they're going to do at 6 in the NCAA tournament? No disrespect to you, Jake Krug, but it's just like, they've got a lot of options still. Man, they're a team that has had a lot of attention.
Where is Sam Landau?
That's another great question. Yeah, I just think, and any Duke thoughts before we move on?
Watching. Sam, tell us where you're at.
Yeah, if you're watching. Any final Duke thoughts?
No, I mean, it's just a really dangerous team. And again, like you said, and we did the math 2 shows ago maybe that's about how many different lineups they had played. They had played 21 matches and had 14 different singles lineups. A tough year, a team with a lot of talent that's very, very dangerous. You talk about A&M. I talked to the folks at A&M, and even I've talked to them today, and I think they're looking for what are the scenarios that still somehow get us there. They become, it may or may not be enough, but they become big UCLA fans now. Like they want UCLA to run the schedule in the Big Ten tournament because of what their win over them, and maybe they get up there and inject themselves into a spot that A&M can win a tiebreak and jump them and find themselves back in the tournament. Don't know, but yeah, it's not looking. I mean, certainly you're not betting money that there's any good chance for that to happen. A&M probably is out, but it'll all become much, much clearer Tuesday when we get the new rankings, and then we can really project the final matches.
And then we can start to play. Yeah, just, again, all the scenarios is like, is A&M safe? Yes. No, wait, no, they're not. Is Baylor safe? Yes. Wait, no, they're not. Is Florida State in? They're up 3-2. By the way, heartbreak for Florida State, who almost, after just a really weird start, they weren't healthy, then they were. They almost played their way back into the top 16. Can you look at the travel matrix and tell me where they're projected to go that opening weekend?
They have to go to UCF, right?
Oh, that's what I said.
They don't have to, because there are a slew of choices. So right now, UCF can take
like Florida South Carolina.
State. They could take Florida State.
Oh, sorry, I meant they could go to
South Carolina's a host.
I meant UCF could go to South Carolina, but yes.
Yeah, this is off the top of my head because I had just looked. Florida State, Florida, USF, Miami, and then South Carolina State. So South Carolina State probably going down there as the 4 seed.
Okay.
Given that UCF,
you don't think South Carolina State just goes to South Carolina?
I mean, they could, but there are probably going to be some other teams that are lower seeded that can still go potentially there, maybe a little further away. I don't know.
Gotcha.
That can't make it to UCF, but can make it to South Carolina. There are quite a few teams up a little further north, but we'll see. But UCF is, I feel like they would have to get Florida State as the two from an. If you have an all things being equal from an equity perspective, you take the higher ranked Florida State, and as opposed to say making either USF or Florida or Miami a 2 seed, that just doesn't make sense. So it feels like a lock to me that Florida State should be the 2 seed at UCF, and then you can just have your pick of that about is the 3. At that point, it couldn't be Miami because they're the same conference as Florida State. So now, is it Florida or USF? One of those 2 teams probably being the 3 seed there. So 3 Florida teams plus someone else, like maybe a South Carolina State.
I'll take it. Very much looking forward to that. And yeah, it was awesome. It was such a fun weekend of action to monitor from Cary. Yeah, it's been really good. And Virginia Stanford is going to be a really fun men's final tomorrow. Of course, on the women's side, North Carolina, the big win over a lockyless NC State. But still, this is a North Carolina team. I don't know for the first time since we've been doing this, I'm not sure where they stack up in the hierarchy. They're very good, and they're a top 8 team, no doubt about that. But again, Brantmeyer has found her footing, certainly. 2 through 5 is the same player. Like Rabman, Evans, Hamilton, Tangillig. Who's ever at 4 and 5 you really like. Who's ever at 2 and 3 in the best matches, it feels a little more toss-up-y. Certainly Claire Hill's gotten a lot better. They're really good in doubles, both on paper and in practice. But the story is Virginia. Like I guess for me to try and a barometer for how much has this North Carolina team grown is the best thing is that they get to play Virginia. Because, again, early in the season, they lose 4-3. National Indoor, 6 team match points up. Again, 6, not 1-6. 6 team match points up. They drop that match, and Virginia wins 4-3. Now you get the third shot. The third shot against a Virginia team that, by the way, I mean, the recipe against Duke, you have to take the top 2. They get the top 2. For a Virginia team who should be that good at doubles, to take doubles against a Duke team that has been exceptional at doubles, they take doubles. They had to find one more. They get it. I'm blanking on who was, but shout out to you. Pico Navarro, I think, was ultimately, it was her or Gina Salas. It was one of the 3 namers. So shout out to the 3 name. I'll go look it up in a second. We've been watching a lot of tennis here today, folks, but you get what I'm saying. And it's just like, as Jay put it perfectly. You're laughing at me, Chris.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking you're about to call Sarah O'Leary a three-namer too.
That's pretty good. Gina Pichi Malaguti. Yeah, that's a three-namer. Anyways, all that is to say, Jay put it perfectly. He goes, look, do we have every Virginia player healthy and playing back in their spots? No, we're not there yet. But at least we see everyone again. Like, you see Kazakova here. You see Lacey there. You see Gina Salas, Pico Navarro, like Travinsky healthy again. Collard is available in singles again. It has been a roller coaster ride for Virginia. And for them to ride that into another victory over Duke, by the way. They're 2-0 against Duke. They're 2-0 against UNC this season. Like, that's how you secure top 8, folks. Forget all the bumps and bruises along the way. Those are 4 very good wins for the Hoos. Chris, in your mind, 10,000-foot view, who do you think needs tomorrow more? North Carolina or Virginia heading into the tournament?
I mean, I kind of feel like no. It depends on why you're asking. I think right now North Carolina needs it because they would desperately love to secure, first of all,
yeah, that's a good point.
Hosting spot, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
They're on the bubble there, but I also feel like they're just, it feels like maybe they're finally getting their footing. It's not the, it's not your daddy's North Carolina, whatever, it's not what we've had for the past several years. It's a different North Carolina team that's sort of, they're sort of it's almost like they're the underdog just because of where they've been and what you expect from a top 2 or 3 team out of them every year. And now they're just sort of like, yeah, we're trying to fight to be in that top 10, top 6, 6 to 10 range. And for them to really get their footing going, I think Virginia has shown, look, you beat Duke twice. I think there's just more confidence and more belief there, whereas North Carolina still they're still finding their way through. And I think it would be a bigger obstacle overcome type thing for North Carolina to get it done if they could.
I think the answer has to be North Carolina because even through all the ups and downs of this year, Virginia knows who they are. Like just that core of Travinsky, of Ziodato, who that win over ballots for Zio has been. It's crazy because she's one of the older players in college now. She might be one of the most improved players in college tennis here in 2025. Have been so. I don't know if I know her well enough to call her Zio. As that came out of my mouth, I was like, I don't know if Sarah and I are quite there yet. Like if Elaine Travinsky, if I knew her nickname, I would call it no hesitation. I'll call Melody Collard Mello, no hesitation. I don't know if I'm at a Zio level yet though with Sarah, but like they know who they are. They have that belief. It was never about do they have the belief. It was about do they have the health. For North Carolina, it's entirely about belief. Because with all due respect to the Tar Heels, whom obviously a program we've been very close with over the years, biggest matches this year. Yeah, they beat Georgia on the road. But they lost in the quarterfinals to Virginia at the indoors. And by the way, the very next day they lost again to Auburn in that consolation match. Not particularly close. They did get the road wins at Cal, at Stanford, but those aren't Tier 1 wins. Those are good wins, not Tier 1 wins. Yes, they beat NC State, but that match was at home. Again, they lost their matchup with Duke here this season. To beat NC State again, huge. But go and beat someone who beat you earlier in the season. Go and beat someone who you have a mental hurdle against. If they can do that against this Virginia team, now all those young pieces, Evans, Rabman, Claire Hill, guess what they'll have won for the first time, Chris? A title. Like, so often in the past, North Carolina, to their credit, at the very least, they had played in a national indoor final. They had dealt with that sort of pressure before. This group hasn't. It comes tomorrow, Sunday. You're taking on a Virginia team who got you twice in just the most gut-wrenching fashion. Go grab a victory. And then it's like, wait. Okay, in a season defined by parity, put Carolina in that, not that they aren't in the circle, but maybe you put them in the inner circle. if they're able to get that victory there tomorrow. So I know who Virginia is if healthy. I don't know the best version of North Carolina looks like yet. Final word goes to you. Give me
Well,
your
yeah,
picks.
to your point,
Yeah.
Virginia's got 5 top 10 wins
Yeah.
on their record. They've beaten Duke twice, they've beaten North Carolina twice, and they've beaten Tennessee. That's 5 top 10 wins. What does North Carolina have? 1. They beat Georgia. That's it. Like, so there's definitely it's sort of that. I feel like there's more to prove. Like they know they have some talent, but they need to prove it. They've gotten the ranking that they've got from beating that. They did pick up 2 wins over NC State, sitting at 12, and then it's outside the top 20 at that point. But they need a big win like that, especially over a team that's already beaten them twice. So I think much more critical for North Carolina.
Who are your picks? Again, it's Virginia versus Stanford on the men's side, Virginia versus UNC on the women's side. Give me your picks, Chris. Who you got and why?
As much as it pains me to say this in front of you, Gruskin, I'm going double who.
Double who's! I love it. I love it. I love it. Man, we don't have to call it, so I can pick it, Chris. Do you know I'm going to be able to pick the NCAA semis and finals this year for the first time in like 4 years? I'm terrified. I'll go heels on the women's side. I'll go who's on the men's side, just because again, yeah, sometimes the old me does leak out. I'll go heels and who's, but man, is that ACC going to be fun. All right. Let's go ACC Big 12. SEC Big 12, excuse me. Who you want next or why?
Well, let's leave our Big 12 because we've been covering it for the end. So let's
save the best for last.
SEC.
Let's go SEC. Let's start women's side. Chris, I don't know if you knew this history, and maybe some listeners don't, or maybe they saw the tweet. I forget who sent it, probably Parsa. I think it was Parsa. Shout out to him. 5th straight season that these two teams have faced off now in a conference tournament championship. Texas A&M 3-2 down. They find the 3-set victories. They find the 4-3 win. They were a doubles point down. DJ Bennett got a win over Stoyana in that match as well. And yet, Lulu Perez. I think I can, again, Luciana. Don't know if I'm at Lulu stage. Sorry. It's been a long day. Shout out Lulu. Luciana Perez gets the win at the number 4 spot. Smetanikov gets the clinch at 5. She's had some ups and downs. That's a massive victory for her here. I mean, there's that side of the equation. There's the fact that Georgia, after suffering their first losses since pre-indoors last weekend to Texas and Texas A&M, they look like they're on the warpath. I mean, 4-0 over Oklahoma today, a match that was never in doubt for Georgia. Chris, our friendship, it didn't start based upon this, but it was founded upon our conversations. And, I was talking to Scotty Perlman about this today, which made me very happy, about Florida versus Tennessee and those old SEC rivalry matches and how it just felt like Timo Stotter's Tennessee went up against Oliver Crawford's Florida a million times in a 2-year time span, and because of that, the institutional familiarity between these two teams and just or between those two programs, and then you had the moments where Tennessee beats Florida in the conference tournament and they're leapfrogging over and doing the celebration. Then they play in the round of 16, and Florida gets them there. By the way, the best character in that rivalry was the Mississippi State character, who were the third wheel, who's like, yeah, but we're gonna beat the winner of you. Just know, like, we're gonna beat you guys, so have your fun. This should remind us of that. This is actually that on steroids, because they've played in a national indoor final. They've played in an NCAA final. They are now playing in a 5th straight conference tournament final. Chris, why aren't more fucking people talking about this rivalry? It's a 5th straight. They're the top 2 teams in the country. It doesn't guarantee, but it means it's the 2nd straight season that we will see them play at least 3 times. 3. I didn't hold up 2 fingers. I just want you to know I did get the 3rd one up there. 3. I just missed the camera. 3, Chris. 3rd time here. You are our SEC guy. Are these the class of the field? Like, is this what it should be?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The kind of the upstart that we didn't see coming into the year this year in the SEC, and a tremendous hats off, tremendous coaching job, Jordan Zabel, what he did at Auburn. I mean, that was a surprise. If you had asked me, after NCAAs last year, as he just got done helping Texas A&M win a national championship before he moved on to take over the job at Auburn. If that was gonna, if I thought, hey, Auburn's gonna be trying to upset the apple cart and get in between these two, no, not a chance. And they did. I mean, it's been a great year for them. But Georgia and Texas A&M have just by far been the class of the SEC. And what makes this one even more fun is not only are they the best two teams in the SEC, we are almost undoubtedly watching the best two players in the country on as playing number one for these two teams. And it's a rivalry there between Dasha Vidmanova and Mary Stoyana that almost every time they play, they are number 1 and 2 in the country in the ITA rankings. And that's what you want to see. It's we haven't had one this good even on the men's side from the standpoint of, yes, it's that same matchup every time. And, oh, by the way, they've just got the number 1 and number 2 players in the country. It's a great rivalry.
The fundamental problem in why this rivalry isn't like as spicy, and this is said with love, but the fundamental problem is that these two teams like each other. That there's a ton of respect. Like, how can you not like Mary? Like, how can you not like Dasha? Like, there's so much respect between these two teams. Florida and Tennessee fucking hated each other. Like, that was actual animosity. Like, no holds bar. Like, oh, that was or like, said with love, since I'm here, Mackay's Tennessee versus Woodson's Baylor. Like, that was a rivalry in the sense of, like, you never knew what might happen on a changeover. There's so much respect between these two teams. Like, Coach Weaver and Drake are never going to get into it. Those are two mild-mannered Southern boys who are just very, very kind human beings. I might ask Nicole Kieran to hook 7 times. I might be like, can you just do that for me? Just so, like, it just becomes a thing. Like, can we just let this happen? By the way, I don't know why I use Nicole Kieran as my example there. Anyone. I'd ask anyone. Sophia Rojas, will you throw me a hook? Game number 4. That's the problem, is they like each other too much. But the tennis when they face off is always extraordinary. That they played last weekend and get to play again now this weekend. That Mary is coming off of a loss today against DJ. And next up it's like, well, we fed you DJ, and if the finalist wasn't good enough, here's the champion in Dasha, who, by the way, you beat 6-6 last weekend. And if you think Dasha doesn't know that, like, there are no scouting reports necessary in these matches, Chris. Auburn coming closest does, in my mind, there was a pack of SEC teams. LSU, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Oklahoma. I do think Oklahoma and Auburn in reaching the semifinals kind of confirm that they're the class of that group, that they are the two who are, in my opinion, for certain top 8. And you throw those two, Georgia A&M, those two, Georgia A&M. I'm counting on my fingers here, folks, so I don't miss my 8. Georgia, A&M, Auburn, Oklahoma, Michigan, Virginia, UNC, Duke. That's probably your top 8. Like, those are your top 8 seeds, right, at this point. Certainly in my mind, that feels like who the 8 best teams are.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, and so there you have it. Good stuff for them. I mean, that this Florida, I'm going to not do a 30 for 30, but like a 3 for 3 on this Florida women's tennis season because, God, was it fascinating. Is Vanderbilt locked in their top 16?
They're projected 50. Oh, but it's a big drop. They're projected 15, but then it's a 10-point drop. So yes,
like even if USC beats Ohio State, like, I guess, can the Big 12 champion, if it's Texas Tech?
I guess it would take two swaps to get around them. They're not going to drop out on points. So the question is, can somebody manage to get a double bump? And they're 15th, so you'd need like a USC and a UCLA to both win a head-to-head competition over them. I don't know that's
no. I mean, Vandy lost to UCSB, but that was kickoff weekend and years ago. And before, again, we all knew about what Valeria Ray was doing. We all always know what CB Moore is capable of doing. But yeah, SEC women's side, really, really fun. On the SEC men's side, I mean, again, like, if Tennessee's men's team makes the final site, which would be the next time that I could possibly see them, I'm like going to go on one knee in apologies with my head down and be like, please forgive us for our coverage here this season, for thou has thoroughly earned our respect. What a run. Like, all they do is clinch matches like this, and even to get to the semifinals, I know they lost today, but Chris, again, if Kotzen closes things out on Timo Lagu, who the fuck knows what happens in their matchup today against Texas. Um, South Carolina through to the final. Again, that team was, in my mind, 1-12 earlier this season. Now, they weren't, but they were irrelevant coming out of the national indoors. We didn't have a single South Carolina conversation January or February. They're through to the final. They're top 16. Mississippi State lost today, but they're still very good. Texas has been vulnerable, but they haven't been healthy. So I don't know how much to read into this. It does feel like the Texas teams, Texas and TCU, no one needs the 2 weeks off that they're going to have before the start of the NCAA tournament at the top of the game, maybe more than them. Your takes, men's side, rock and roll. Throw it at me, Chris. What you got?
Yeah, I mean that South Carolina Mississippi State match was tremendous. I mean, it's exact in the end, it's exactly why I picked South Carolina in the tournament because they're so good at home. The crowd was phenomenal. Look, Yelani Sarr was down 5-3 in the third with Martinez Serrano serving for it. It ends up in a breaker. Yelani Sarr was walking over to the edge of the court and leaning on the fence, looking he was like he was going to puke every point from like 4 games into the third set on. How he managed to hang in there on that one was remarkable. Connor Thompson and he both end up in third set breakers, and they had no business. They were behind the entire match. They had no business winning that match, and yet they did. And yeah, Texas still look. They got pushed by Tennessee. They don't look great. They're playing Sebastian Gorsny now. Still no Ojakar, no Lucas Brown. I think we saw Lucas Brown in doubles, not in singles. So we're still seeing Evan Burnett at the 6 spot in singles, and Ian Cruz beat him up today. That's just not going to be, I think, a viable answer for them moving forward if they have national championship aspirations. Does this weekend mean a whole heck of a lot at this point? No, not really, other than it'd be nice to get the title. But yeah, I'm with you. They need some rest. The length of that match for South Carolina, the fact that they played it later and they have to come back, turn around and play again tomorrow, I think is going to be tough for South Carolina. But look, we're talking about a bunch of 20-year-old guys. No one's going to feel
At
sorry
home.
for a 20-year-old guy needing to recoup after 3 hours of exercise today. They'll find a way to be back and be in great shape. I mean, but it is, in the end, it's kind of what we thought we were going to see here. No huge surprises. The one that kind of caught me right out of the gate, Auburn knocking off Kentucky. We talked about Kentucky last week, how they've been unbeaten at home. But if you're as good as they are and you've been unbeaten at home, to be all the way down where you're ranked, you must be almost just horrible on the road. And this obviously not on the road, but a neutral site match not going their way as they drop that one to Auburn. I think a tough finish for them, but they're in the NCAA field. We'll see them again. They're not going to be hosting. So a team that you probably don't really mind seeing coming your way. But it's all about, to me right now, it's really all about Texas and can we get Lucas Brown and Ali Ojakar healthy? And is Sebastian Gorsny really, and because we were calling Big 12 today, I did not get to watch any of their match. Is he really healthy, or is he 80% healthy and filling a spot so that it's not Burnett and Sachdev at 5'6", which puts them at a great disadvantage? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. I know you're not the biggest NBA guy. Shout out to the Pistons up entering the fourth quarter on the Knicks in Game 1. You remember the ban the charge movement where people were getting so mad with the blocking foul, charge foul that was just like, let's not call charges anymore. Let's just get that out of the game. We might need to ban the slide because the hottest commodity right now in college tennis is the boot. Like, how many players across the fucking country right now are in boots? Like, I swear to God, here at the Herd Tennis Center, every team's got a boot. Like, Lucas Brown, I think, was in a boot a couple weeks ago, right? Or last week, whatever it was. And just, man.
Pedro Vivez is in a boot.
Pedro Vivez is in a boot. we might have to ban the slide because it's just, again, it's gotten too physical. Too many boots on play. No, again, that's why these 2 weeks are going to be so valuable for these teams to get some rest, or 10 days, whatever it may be, before the start of the NCAA tournament. That's a really good win for Timo. Like, we take really good Timo wins for granted, but to be that sort of down against a Kotson who is playing his best tennis of his career this season in Tennessee, and again, Tennessee wins that match. Who did they beat before they lost today? Who did they beat yesterday? Someone. Impressively someone.
It wasn't Georgia.
But I don't think all of that is to say, I'm pretty sure I couldn't tell you who they beat, but I know they won without Shinsuke Matsui getting a win. And, like, to do that, like, I'm sorry. Jasudison was not a household name. Garcia was not a household name. Like, none of Kabirski, not a household name. And this team's going to fucking finish top 16, Chris. I cannot believe it. That is one of the most shocking stories. When they lost to Michigan in the kickoff weekend, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, Tennessee, you lose Monday, you lose Diaz, you lose a generation of humans. It's going to take a second.
They beat A&M.
Oh, yeah, even they beat A&M. Yeah, Tennessee deserves a lot of props because we both wrote them off, like, so easily all season long. I think we even did a segment where it was like, okay, well, of these SEC teams, who can play themselves into a top 16? And we both were like, well, Tennessee probably could play themselves in, but they're not going to do it. So let's just brush over that real quickly. Again, hand up. We have not been more wrong about something like that in quite some time, Chris Halioris. And so wanted to give them a shout out.
If they make the final site, Gruskin, and you and I will both be at the final site, they absolutely deserve to get us. And since I'm incapable...
3 butts up?
No, since I'm incapable of paying the punishment that I think is actually due, you'll have to take one for the team. You got to do the Angel Diaz shaved T in the chest.
On my legs. On my legs. That's where I actually have it. It's really good.
It's got to be. You really beat good. Eli Stevenson. You rip the shirt off, and there it is. Big T shaved in the chest. Like, yeah, that's no, but they deserve. Yeah, if it's a butts up for sure. They deserve butts up on us if they make the final site.
They make the quarterfinals, 5 butts up each. Although, let's be clear, our butts up, I always did racket between the legs, ass up, head down. Some people do, like, facing you butts up. And I'm like, no, I want to have kids someday. I'm not doing facing you butts up. Not at the Division I college level. And by the way, we always did baseline to baseline. But I'll accept service line to back fence as well. So
all right, we're drafting right now. I picked Ian Cruz. You can have whoever you want.
I'll take Shun because he'll be I'll take Kotson because he'll be vindictive about it. I want him hitting at you.
No, I'm picking Jasudison for you because he will drill one.
I'm picking Moreno because he's not going to hit me once. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Come on, that's a joke. Yeah, shout out Tennessee. All right, that's your ACC action. Big 12, we can go a little faster because, to your point, it was all chalk. Now, that doesn't mean there wasn't great matches. And, man, Colorado's win over Iowa State, what a performance for a team that has played with a hand but tied behind their back due to injuries all season long. I mean, again, I could watch BYU play anyone for 9 hours consecutively and be entertained on the women's side or the men's side. And certainly that BYU matchup that they played against Kansas State, such a fun 7-10 matchup. Yeah. On the men's, I mean, how about Texas Tech? Like, it was a 3.5 hour 4-1. I've never seen a 3.5 hour 4-1. That's what they earned over Kansas. Obviously, on the men's side today, what UCF has done. And they have dealt with so many injuries this season as well. Yes, they brought in the number 2 recruiting class according to tennisrecruiting.net. Most of the guys haven't played here in 2025. It's been the pieces that have gotten better. Leamy today, the straight set win over Jack at 1. And look, I mean, again, I'm not reading anything into the TCU side of the loss because they were so shorthanded. Obviously, for Arizona, again, 2.5 hours. They're down 1-0. They have played, I think it's a combined now. I want to get this number exactly right. So they have played a combined. It's something ridiculous. It's like they are, and it's like now 49-3 or something nuts like that. Are Colton Smith, Jay Friend, and Sasha Rosen so far this season.
Yeah.
Like they're up 3-0. It's literally old school Goyo, Hrisokos, Botzer, find one more shit. Like that's again, our friendship was founded upon a respect of that. Texas Tech Baylor match today, as I talked about in the open, what a war! Like Baylor, after getting punched in doubles, God, did they come out swinging to start singles, and yet Texas Tech prevails there. I mean, you could argue the single best match we saw was Lincer versus not Lockheed
Melissa
versus
Urquhart.
thank you versus Oklahoma State. Who was it? Lefty. I can
Melissa
see
Urquhart.
Urcon.
If
Thank
I'm
you.
saying the last name
I
right.
keep no, it's Urcon. I keep saying Urcon and Lockheed, and in my mind, it's like same human. But yes, Urcon versus Lincer might have been the best individual match you had all day. Chris, let's wrap up on the Big 12. Give me your thoughts. And the race, by the way, can you give me a status of the race for the top 16 seeds? Because at both the men's and women's side, like, is UCF Texas Tech tomorrow playing for it? Is Texas Tech good? On the men's side, is UCF good? Arizona's obviously good, but I don't think they have any shot for a top 8 seed. Do they? Run us through all the scenarios if you don't mind.
So Texas Tech right now sitting at 14, but it's kind of tight there. But again, they and Vanderbilt, the point gap is huge. So they should be good. UCF is in about a three-way. Well, there's a few teams below them too. There's a battle for that 16 spot right now between UCLA, USC, UCF, Washington. Oklahoma State took themselves out of it with the loss today, but they were in it as well. That we're all fighting for that final spot. And yeah, so no, UCF could definitely try to play their way in. It's a big one for them tomorrow. And yeah, I mean, what a battle that was. Is what else you're talking yeah, Oklahoma State's they're out. They're gonna be a high 2 seed going somewhere. Uh and then the Baylor women, uh I'm taking a scan. They're down at 22. So I mean, they could have tried to play their way in, but obviously they're also going to be a 2 seed somewhere. So but I mean, that match between Oklahoma State and UCF, I I still can't believe that it got. And I actually feel really really bad for Melissa Urquhart because she is 100% having nightmares tonight. I mean, that game that she had for match point was 40 love or love for whatever it was, and she let every single one of those get away, ending with a forehand probably 8 feet from the net that didn't make it over. Like, I mean, just a brutal finish. Which also, if you watched any of the match, and I know you and I talked about it a little, not the place she wants to be. Her reluctance to come anywhere near the net actually hurt her, I think, in the tiebreaker. She could step inside the service line to hit a short ball. And the first thing she was going to do immediately was start backpedaling. And she got caught backpedaling, and Lincer put a ball into the forehand corner. And because instead of running, say, side to side or being on the move or moving forward, she couldn't split step and then make a move to the corner. And Lincer just put the ball to the side while she was backpedaling, and it ends up being a winner. Like, there's got to be, clearly there's some work. But if you don't know and you haven't watched them, folks, these two girls are top 500. They're top 425 in the world. Lincer and Urquhart are both between 400 and 420 in the WTA rankings. It's like I've talked about it on my broadcasts all year on the women's side now with the influx of the January signings like Kayla Cross, Cadence Brace at LSU, Melissa Urquhart. We've got 8 women in the top 425 of the WTA rankings playing college tennis this year. And that was 2 of them on court 1. And it all came down to that court, which is, that's what you want. If you're a coach, like, look, all due respect to Nicholas Oliveira and Philip Appletower, but neither Dave Roditi or Lloyd Bruce Burgess wants to be sitting at a 3-all match going, yeah, those are the 2 guys I want to see it on the line with. No, you want to go, hey, I want JPJ and Yassine Delini, and on court 1, that's the match that decides it if we're 3-all, right? And that's what we had. We had the battle at 6 on the men's match, but we had the battle at 1 in that UCF Oklahoma State match, which is where you wanted it to end. And Olivia Lincer just, I mean, she was a cat with 9 lives. It was unbelievable. The men's match was coming on afterwards. You could see the coaches and the players, they were standing in that soccer practice field behind the courts, over her court, watching the finish of that match, and had to think it was over. I mean, she was doomed. She's down 4 match points, and like all of a sudden she comes back and she's alive again. I still have no idea how she managed to get out of there. And I also, feel a little bad for, on the Oklahoma State side. We saw in doubles Marcela Lopez today. I know you got to talk to Coach Young about it, said it's nothing serious. Obviously, it wasn't a Lucia Perez type injury yesterday, but she went down 2 games into the match and had to retire. Able to play doubles today, not able to play singles. So Alian Zak gets the call. Not a lot of meaningful singles matches for her this year, so that was tough. But I'll tell you what, for a youngster, I'm interested to watch her. She can hit the ball. It's one of those. It's not your, hey, this is a grind at number 6. She's going to hit the ball, and it's, she's going to make it or miss it. But she hits the ball, and it was just a great match all around.
Yeah, no, I mean, Melissa Urcon will remember that forehand on top of the net she had. I think it was match point number 4, and that decided.
Yeah, that
point.
Was the deuce. The deuce point. She immediately dropped the racket and bent over.
Also, she just wouldn't hit a forehand line. Like, she just wouldn't do it. She would hit it inside out really comfortably. She could pull it cross fairly comfortably. Forehand line wasn't there. Man, and Lincer knew it, and Lincer took advantage of that fact. And yes, like a cat with 9 lives, Lincer surviving, fighting off those match points. God, I hadn't heard an "everywhere we go" like sort of chant in so long, and I was like, "Who we are," and then I was like, "Wait, Alex, you're on the broadcast." I was like, "Don't tell them, like you know who you are." And yet Oklahoma State got into it. The guys stuck around too. Yeah,
is all those girls were on the camera, right behind the cameras for the men's match. Like I was hearing, I'm praying the entire time during the match that, like, nobody knows that we can hear them loud and clear. I'm like, please don't go into some monologue cursing about someone.
Can I give you, by the way, the highlight of the week for me is I'm standing there getting ready to call a match, or match on court 6 had just ended, and I hear someone above, and I know the voice go, "Hey, Gruskin, what's up in there?" And it was Jay Friend, and I was like, all right, I got to go outside and say hello to Jay. Like, I was like, he knows. He's like, "Gruskin, I know you're in there. Come outside so we can see you." And I was like, that was pretty funny, Jay. Or I don't know if he knew that I could hear him, but he said it right over the camera, and I did go out, and I was like, dude, that was very funny. But I'm only doing this once. I was like, I'm only rewarding it once. But, yeah, that was very, very funny. Yeah, like, according to Coach Kanyeko, he's like, I think my girls will riot if I tell them we got to go rest and recover. They're like, yeah, we can rest and recover after we watch the men play. And so, by the way, what a day for UCF tennis. And again, for a school that is just new to the Big 12. And I know PJ hurt his ankle too. I know Vivez is out. I know Cooper's sick. I know Pederico was forced to retire. Only Louis Maxted's healthy. Like, he's the only one who's been healthy all season.
Did you get the story on Pederico? By the way, I'm interested. It looked like blisters based on the way they were looking at the foot, but I have no clue.
They said you can only be blonde out here for 2.5 hours, dude. I'm not. I haven't heard yet. I've been in.
Would have been much easier to ask that question had they won.
Yeah, I've been in here with you, or talking to Lloyd, or talking to Clancy. Yeah, I like. What a win for the UCF women. What a moment that they're going to take on Texas Tech, who's the only team to beat them in Big 12 play. By the way, this UCF team's really young. Like, Lincer's a sophomore. Eliuni's a freshman. I can keep going. Like, the other Olivia is also a freshman.
Yep.
Yeah. So I just call them Olivia 1 and 2. It's actually Olivia sophomore and Olivia freshman. Eliuni.
They need to play doubles together. They got to split up Rylet and Lincer so we.
Hannah Rylet's not old either. Like, the only senior they have is
well.
Biolay.
Yeah.
That's the only senior that they have is Sophia Biolay. And so, like, this UCF team is well positioned. And, man, like, again, once upon a time, the women's staff was Kanyeko and Bruce Burgess. Like, Yeah, by the way, shaved head Lloyd. It's a shaved head mentality. That's why you always win that final championship when you finally make the commitment to shave the head and you have that freedom. Um, what a great win for them. Like, what a moment for this program. By the way, Arizona's win was awesome that they dropped doubles definitively. Baylor smacked them. Baylor was awesome in doubles here today. And by the way, playing Arizona, what's your recipe? Doubles, 3, 4, 6. Baylor won doubles and first sets on 3, 4, and 6. Badenhorst hits an ace wide to fight off a match point, 4-5 in the second set tiebreak. He then has a break point for 6-5. Colton Smith, ace wide. So it's just like, that was pro tennis on court number 1. Jay Friend got put, like, Veltz forced a third. That was unbelievable tennis on court number 2. Broström Poulsen, 3 sets. 3 sets on 5. 3 sets on 4. 3 sets on 6. Like, what more can you ask for? It was as good as advertised across the board here in the Big 12 today. It sounds like, in the end, it will be Texas Tech. And if UCF wins, maybe the Big 12 gets 2 women's schools as the top 16. On the men's side, I mean, again, is it going to be TCU is obviously fine. Arizona is obviously good. UCF, are they locked? Like, will they be hosting now no matter what happens tomorrow?
I think so. They should be good. I mean, a loss to an Arizona team's not going to, I think they'll still be 14th in the ranking. So it would take, ranking wise, they've got to end up top 16. It's going to take some really crazy tiebreaker swap type things to get them like double bumped down. But again, we'll get a much better look Tuesday, but I would say that, yeah, they've got to be a lock at this point to be a host now, which is, I mean, deservedly so. If you're going to beat Ohio State indoors, Arizona twice, and now TCU, how could you not? The only reason we're even having the conversation is because they've also lost to Miami, USF, and BYU. This has to be the craziest. We've talked about it all year. The craziest highs and lows from terms of, yeah, every once in a while you could see a team that beats a number 3 team have maybe one bad loss, and maybe that's, somewhere, a 30-ish type team. But to go and lose to USF, who's actually turned out to be pretty darn good this year, and then Miami, and then BYU, who's down in the 60s, and have all the wins they have, it's crazy. I've never seen anything like it for this UCF team. It's been just and honestly, it's that, look what it's gotten them. It's gotten them into a host spot. You can either run, you can be really good and just sort of beat a whole bunch of 40, 50, 30 teams. That's not going to get you a top 16. If you're trying to get a top 16 and you're actually capable of beat a couple top 10s and lose to a 40 and a 60. By all means, the wins count much more than the losses do. So UCF has done it. And yeah, hopefully we get to see a healthy Liam Brangier at some point here. Maybe even tomorrow, who knows? But maybe more for the tournament. Hopefully we get to see, across the board for,
by the way, Liam
TCU as well.
Also in a boot.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, it's, yeah. The funny side note here is it's happened around there have been multiple people now that I've heard, I've seen have had some injuries, and just the fact that they all come at the conference tournament, that someone can go and say, I'm not going to bring up names because I don't know that that coach wants me to bring up the names, but nothing wrong. But the fact that a player arrives at a conference tournament, goes to warm up and grabs a soccer ball to juggle because that's their warm-up routine, steps on court and their foot sticks and they hyperextend their knee and don't play. Like, just freak accidents like that are just, it's unbelievable, the kinds of things that happen. And yeah, that's how you end up with players in a boot. I saw it wasn't even a boot. I saw somebody in one of the matches last night as the celebration was going on, making their way in on crutches. Yeah. I'm not even sure who that was. But yeah.
No, and speaking of celebrations, Arizona, if you're still listening, members of the squad, got to get better at the celebration. They tried to do the circle. It was bad. They won that match like they had never won a match before. And I was like, guys, you're 22-4 on the year. Let's clean this up.
I'm glad I didn't see that. There's in no world can I imagine a Jay Friend team that doesn't know how to do a celebration. That's
No, I
not.
mean it's just it's hilarious. And yeah, I'm just like, I mean, I was like, at the minimum, like, can we get a fight club? Like, if you're gonna circle, it should be two guys in the center boxing, and just like it should be the person who clinched and Colton in there, just something fun. Yeah, or just something like you do a fake WWE takedown of Clancy after a victory. I don't know, something cool. Yeah, it's going to be a really fun championship Sunday. And by the way, last four picks before we go here, as there were, by the way, other great matches. Pepperdine, San Diego. San Diego locks in the regular season title. You had FIU completes the undefeated season. How about USF losing
FAU.
in their conference tournament? FIU from the women's side, or FAU. Thank you.
FAU on the women's
Yes,
side.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you. They won, right? I think FAU won. Or did they lose to FIU?
No, the last I saw actually, FAU was playing Tulsa and it was a 3-all match. And I'm checking 7-6 in the third. Tulsa wins it. So
No way.
FAU no longer a 4-3 loss to the Tulsa women. No
We
longer.
lose both undefeated teams today?
Yeah.
Like, I love this sport. It was one of those days, one of those weekends here, Chris.
Which brings us, because we're now talking American and NCAA tournament implications, we got a bid stealer today that you won't see that effect on the cut line until after tomorrow. But as of right now, that wherever that cut line is for the men right now, it's going to move up a spot. So any of you teams on the bubble, move your eyes up a spot, because in the American Conference, USF loses to Rice today, and that conference final is now going to be Memphis versus Rice. Neither team in the NCAA field at the moment, so the winner is going to grab a spot. USF is still going to get an at-large bid, and that NCAA cut line after the completion of that match tomorrow will move up one spot. So if you're looking at the men's, and I'm going to go grab a look right now. Looking at that men's line, it's at 46 right now. So that number is going up to 45 at the completion of that match tomorrow. Unless the Memphis Rice winner, I don't know if the win will be enough to get a Memphis right now 50, Rice 53. Assuming neither one of them gets inside the top 46 with the win. Yeah, that's a conference winner that's getting a bid stolen. And those are the ones we're looking for, where are those bid stealers? Can someone knock off Boise State, who's currently in the field, and that would take a bid away? UCSB as well. Those probably the two most likely outside of the American for something like that to happen.
Yeah, well, it's something to watch for as Championship Sunday continues tomorrow, of course, or begins tomorrow. It doesn't continue. It has to start to continue. It begins tomorrow, and then it continues all next week, as, of course, we still have a full another week of play to go before we get to the NCAA tournament. But we promised we would do one of these live reaction shows, and I was just ready to burst with takes. So today had to be the day. Chris Halioris, final words belong to you. Any final thoughts before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, my only final thoughts, I think, you know how we should decide the first serve tomorrow at the Big 12 championship? I think you need to propose this on court.
One rep, who's heavier, Clancy or Lloyd?
Well,
at the bench?
You're very close. Because it's going to be tough
Arm
to
wrestle?
get it out there on the court. Arm wrestle.
Yeah, that's good.
I actually so I'll wrap with a funny story. I told it on the broadcast. You obviously didn't get to hear it because you were on your broadcast. I made the comment at the start of the match last night for UCF against Utah as we first saw Coach Lloyd Bruce Burgess walk on. I made a joke. I said, "There's Coach Lloyd Bruce Burgess. I think looks like he probably needs to hit the weight room a little more." And he texts me and says, "My brother was watching. Said you made a comment about how I need to hit the weight room." He goes, "Pretty funny." He said, "Actually, it's like 20 pounds and it's not weights. I'm out of shape." And so I gave a couple of shout outs to his brother on the show today, but that is absolutely what we need. Clancy Lloyd, arm wrestle, whoever loses, that whoever wins their team wins the coin toss across all three courts in doubles. That's what we should do.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like, they're also the two men who would be bold enough to do it. And so,
Yeah,
like,
if the officials would actually let them do it, they probably would, but there's probably zero chance the officials will let that happen.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it won't happen, but it could happen.
But I mean, they could do it, and then their teams could all just be told, "Hey, you're electing to let whatever that team was, you have to let them serve, even no matter how the coin toss comes out."
Yeah,
Just gentleman's agreement here. Let's do it.
100%. Yeah,
If you
I
can
mean,
make that happen, Gruskin, I'm in.
look, I can talk to my league sources. Is it going to happen? No. Would it be fun? Maybe I could maybe get them to do it before the match, and then like maybe they have a gentleman's agreement of like we kind of did it up here on video, so like actually they get to choose all the serving arrangements. Never say never. Anything is possible, right? In the spirit of the NBA playoffs to go full circle, like Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. Yeah. Anyways, what a weekend. What a time. Championship Sunday for us tomorrow. ESPN Plus for the Big 12 coverage. Of course, you've got the ACC, SEC on there as well. Just make sure you've got your ESPN Plus subscription renewed, as of course, that's going to be the home for so much postseason action over the next month. We will be back next week to, of course, talk further about everything we learned this weekend and help try to prepare all of you for that NCAA selection show. Until then, for our fantastic super producer Daniel Westoff, who does a fuck of a job day in, day out. Right, Chris? What sort of a job does he do?
A fuck of an editing job. Day in, day out.
Makes everything possible. Shout out to him. Shout out to Dalton. Shout out to Laurel Springs. Shout out to everyone here on this broadcast who helps, of course, help grow the game. That's what we're trying to do. Had to go live. Had a bunch of thoughts. But now I don't think I have any more words left to say. So for the fantastic Chris Halioris, our super producer Daniel Westoff, and from all of us here at Cracked Rackets, I'm your host, Alex Gruskin. Chris, what do we tell our listeners?
Hey, Coach Herendine, I didn't leave you out, but it's not a contest with Brian Condeco for Raw Wrestling. So, for everyone listening, hey, great shot.
And we will see you all tomorrow for the Big 12 Championships. Thanks, everyone.